Hello and welcome to the Happiness Is podcast with me, your host, Bruce Aitchison from Happiness Egg-Shaped, and we are continuing our trip around the world. We've been all kinds of places on this podcast, from Australia, New Zealand, which kind of standard for a rugby podcast. We've been to America and Canada. We've been to Bahrain recently, and now we're going to Europe. And I'm very excited about this one because I know this person. We went to Amsterdam on a Penguins tour, the very first groundbreaking Penguins tour with a male and female squad put together to go and take on some teams in Amsterdam. Phenomenal human, so positive, all over the place, loves the game, a great role model. So let's not waste any more time because you're not here to listen to me. We are here for the one and the only, the wonderful Vivian Bahlmann. Hello.
Hey, thank you, Bruce. Thanks for having me. I'm super excited to be here.
Oh, I'm so pleased to have you. And I could have started with some German, but I won't embarrass you with my poor German, but I'm so pleased you're here. So we met in Amsterdam.
Exactly.
And it was an incredible tour. I enjoyed it so much and met so many cool people. Sandra has been on the podcast. Lizzie's been on the podcast. Anna's been on the podcast. And I was keen to get hold of Vivian. And finally, I've tracked down possibly one of the busiest women in sport.
Maybe at the moment. Yeah, my mom tried to call me today 2 times and she didn't manage to talk to me. But you now have the chance to talk to me. So I make time for you, Bruce.
Yes, I'm taking that. That is a big tick. Well done. That is a great start. So we met on a rugby tour, and what struck me was your confidence and personality. I then learned that no wonder, because you are TV presenter, sport news, everything. You're used to dealing in front of the camera. But what I do need to know is, rugby in Germany is not a big sport. Football is king, but then there are so many other sports. How on earth did you find rugby?
I found rugby 22 years ago when I went to primary school, and there was a rugby club around the corner of our primary school. And a guy from our rugby club, he came into our classroom with like a couple of balls in his hand, and he talked about rugby and he introduced us into the sport. And I was like, what is he talking about? And the boys said things like, oh, they really they grab your legs and it's really brutal. And I was like, oh my God. But for some reason, this guy was so funny and so nice. And he, in such a nice way, he invited us to come to training. And we actually went all to the trial training session. And that was the start. I never left this rugby pitch again. This club where I went to for the first time is still my home club in Berlin. It's Rugby Club 03 Berlin. That's the name, RK 03 Berlin. This is my home. I love it. And I fell in love with the sport. I fell in love with this club. At this time, we played together with the boys as well. We were like 10, 11 years old. And I felt like I was always very active, very keen. I never did any other sport. And my mom, she was so happy that she said something like, oh, finally you come home and you're tired and you don't want to wrestle with me at home. You found your sport, and yeah, that was it. And I'm the happiest person. Going to that training session.
I find that an amazing story. Now I wonder, lots of 11-year-old girls would, if they'd grown up in Scotland, England, Ireland, Wales, New Zealand, Australia, South Africa, France, the boys at 11 years old would have played rugby. And girls at that time, 22 years ago, probably wouldn't have played rugby. Did it help that you didn't have any of that previous knowledge?
Maybe yes, but at the same time, it was clear that that was a boys' sport, a male sport, because I played with like my teammates were boys, and there was one other girl from my class, from my school class, and we both stick together, and we both managed to go through that whole youth time together. We both went together to the made it all the way to the women's team. We played a couple of years also together in the women's team, and that was cool. We were so tight because of that, because we stick together. But there were a lot of girls who came to the trial session. They started it for a little bit to play rugby, but then they left the sport again. And especially when we got older, the boys became bigger and it was a big competition, and you really, sometimes it was scary, and it took so much to survive in those training sessions sometimes. But the fun thing was also that when we then went to the women's team, to the adults, we were suddenly like really good rugby players, because we played there for such a long time. We had such good skills. We were in the starting team straight away, and that was like, wow, cool. Now I can really do something, and not like compared to the boys, I'm like the one who was then getting subbed in for the last couple of minutes. I was then suddenly a starting player. So that was a really cool feeling. But the thing really interesting, I mean, now I'm doing like a long road here, but like interesting is now that for the first time last year, my rugby club, they started to create a girls team. And these girls, they love playing together with girls. These girls probably wouldn't have stayed playing together with the boys. So it's really, really important to have those different teams, I would say.
It's amazing what's happened in those 22 years, because now as a young girl at 11 years old, you might have thought I could become a professional rugby player. But then what was the aim? What did Vivian want to be when she was older?
So in my club, there were a couple of the boys who then went into the under 16s German team, under 18s, under 20s, and then into the adults. They went to the men national team of Germany. And sometimes we even did like training camps to France to do our training camp. But at the same time, we saw the under 18s German national team, and we supported them. We watched their games. It was their European championship. And some of these players were from our club. And that was the coolest thing ever to see that. Oh my God, the boys who are at training with us, they are playing for Germany. They wear the German jersey. I want to do that as well. That was very quickly my goal, because I thought, like, if they can do that, I want to do that as well. And then I was very lucky that I got in contact, or some coaches from our club. They invited the female coach from Germany. They invited her to our club. And then she invited me very quick to the training camps of the national team. And from the age of 18, I was then part of the German national team. And that was cool. I was buzzing. And I very quickly, I knew that I like to play for fun, but I also like to win, and I like to become better, and I like to work hard. I like to train a lot, and that lead the way towards the national team.
And playing for Germany at anything is obviously an achievement. Big country that loves sport. To play rugby for Germany, how many people knew that was going on?
Not many. So especially in the first years when I started playing rugby, that was a time when I said to someone, I play rugby. People asked me, oh, what kind of sport is that? What is rugby? That changed massively. Now I don't have to explain it anymore. It's really, really funny and interesting to see the comparison compared to 10 years ago, for example. So yeah, you always had to explain what you were doing. Or people said, oh, that's a male sport, isn't it? Or you don't look like a rugby player, or the same talks. But like, how does a rugby player look like? I mean, they look all different kind of ways. So for me, it was still something I was very proud about, to be able to play for Germany and to play for my country and to play my sport for Germany. So, honestly, I have to say, playing for the national team, singing the national anthem, is one of the coolest moments ever, and one of the coolest moments of my life. I have to say that even if there are only like 500 people watching, I don't care. I was wearing that German jersey, and I did that with 100% always.
Yeah, I know that. I know that for certain. So when you leave school, you go off to study. And did rugby always fit? Was there always a way to do rugby?
Yeah, and because rugby became an Olympic sport again, the whole German sport federation, they got some financial support. And what we had, very interesting, we have the German army, and the German army also has like a section where they support athletes in Germany, athletes who don't play football, who has enough financial support, but a lot of other sports who are an Olympic sport. And so what they did is they said, okay, we have the funding here right now to support 7 girls, to give them a whole financial support, or like a whole salary, to fully just play rugby, train with the national team, and try. The goal is to then qualify for the Olympics. And this is what I did straight after school. After I did my A levels, I was very lucky to be one of those 7 girls who went into this program. I had to move away from Berlin, where I was from, but it was the coolest thing ever. My job was to train with the national team. I loved it. Every day training in the morning and evening. It was very tough. I got injured as well in that time, so it was a tough time, but I learned so much, and that was a really cool system. And unfortunately, things changed. We didn't qualify for the Olympics. So what they did is they used all the spots from the female team and moved it to the men's team. So now the men have, I think, 12 spots who get supported by the army, and the female players have none spots anymore. So only the boys get supported. But this is another story. At that time, it was a really cool. It was a massive progress for women's rugby in Germany. I was part of that, and that was pretty cool time. So in that time, it was easy for me to combine rugby with my life. And after that, honestly, in my life, it was always 2 paths: journalism and rugby, and I try to really balance both at the same time until today. I can't do just one or the other. I was never able to do that. To combine working in sport and playing rugby, that was also handy. That worked as well. So it was hard. It is hard because the day only has 24 hours, but I really try to train every day. And this is what I did in the last couple of years, always to train a lot, to do my job. And honestly, if I have my training, I'm functioning better in my job as well. Because if I only do one thing, I'm going crazy. I need rugby. I need to run around. I need to have a fun tournament on the weekend. I love winning. It gives so much. So yeah, I manage always to do both.
Yeah, you put 26 hours into a 24-hour day. Your energy and enthusiasm is unbelievable. And then the journalism, was it always, it's not just sport journalism you do, but because of your passion and your knowledge around your own sport, sports journalism has taken over. But was journalism a thing you wanted to do because that was going to keep you in sport, or were you happy to be a journalist?
I always wanted to become a journalist from a very young age. And before I knew there was rugby in the world, that this is a sport, I wanted to become a journalist. And then it was a cool way to get into journalism because let's say I started to write for our club paper, that these were my first articles. I went to uni and they had a uni newspaper, and I did that, and I wrote a couple of articles for that. And so yeah, it was, and because of that, it was always like I kind of always then worked in the sports direction, I would say. But of course, I also became a news reporter. But rugby and the whole connection to sport made it very easy for me to have own topics, to have something to write about, to talk about. I was just writing about my own stuff, or there are so many things I did. I mean, I went to England to do a semester abroad, for example, and then I did an internship at the local newspaper in Gloucester, in England. And my first printed article was for the Gloucestershire Echo about our uni rugby team who played against, I can't even tell you who we played against, but these were the things I got into journalism.
And the playing rugby, those people that you've met and the things that you've done and the organization and communication, all of those skills that you developed, I don't mean skills as in catch and pass and kick and tackle, all those other skills, how have they helped in journalism?
Well, probably massively, I would say. Also, the people you meet, this helped so much to have this environment of a club. First of all, I mean, even when I went to school and I really needed help in my English lesson, there were other people in my club who were English teachers and they helped me, for example. The whole idea of playing in a team helps you so much to become a team player. And if you go into a job and you use those skills of being a team player to bring that into work, they like this kind of way of how you deal with people, of how you deal with topics, of how you deal with problems. Because in rugby, you learn to stick together, to lose a game, and then you just crack on, you do another game. And this is what you can use in work as well. There's a problem. Okay, let's go. Let's try to make it better next time. And I feel like the values of rugby, it's sometimes surprising how sometimes surprising how you bring them into another world and they're like, oh, like interesting how you deal with that. And for us in the rugby world, it's so normal to stick together, to be friendly to each other, to help each other. I don't know. Do you agree with that? Like this, I feel like
yeah, absolutely.
This is so normal for us, and I think these are such important skills you learn in the whole rugby environment. Also, when you start playing as a kid rugby, and then you just grow up with them, and then that helps in so many other ways.
I find it so interesting because in the UK, rugby it's not the top game, but most people know about rugby, and we have lots of rugby clubs. And if you're not involved in rugby, you know someone who is. But I find it amazing to listen to you in a country like Germany, where my knowledge of rugby in Germany is very small. But you're talking about things that are exactly the same that I know. And you've benefited from those things and you share those things. And I find it amazing. And you talk about all those skills and people that want to help. That community is so close.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the same in Germany as Scotland and South Africa and Georgia and and then it means when we meet each other, we share so many things. So you and I meet in Amsterdam.
Yeah.
You're in the women's squad as a player. I'm the men's squad coach. But there was players there from Portugal, Scotland, England, Ireland, Wales, France, Germany, New Zealand, all over. And we came together, and as I said at the start, I absolutely loved it. When you were first asked to go to these things like the Penguins, you've been away with Loose Heads, I know you're involved in other things. Did you realize what was out there? Did you realize that you were going to be mixing with people with every skin color, every religion, every country? Did you know that was possible?
I was always very, like, a little bit scared, very respectful with those kind of trips, because I know, oh my God, I'm gonna meet so many different people, so many new people. They have probably different ideas, different culture, different language. They're probably really good in rugby and I'm not as good as them. Like, like you have those kind of thoughts especially if you go to trips like with penguins or with loose heads, invitational teams. And at the end of the day, it's exactly like you say, we all speak kind of the same language. It's so amazing to meet those different those different people, to learn about their different cultures, their different their backgrounds, to hear about the countries they're from. This is like the most special experience you can have. And honestly, every time, even when I went to uni in England, when I met new people, when I go to a trip with penguins, every time, even as an adult, and even I knew I did those trips and they always have been cool. I'm like, oh my God, this weekend's going to be exciting. I'm a bit nervous, I'm nervous. There's so many new people. But at the end, I was like, oh my God, this is the best trip ever. I don't want to leave, because everyone is so nice and it's such a nice vibe in the team. And the jokes at the end of the weekend, the jokes people do about my German accent, the jokes I do about a Scottish accent, it's great. And honestly, this is, I think, exactly what kept me playing rugby and I was never able to stop because of those kind of experiences, where you meet just amazing people and you combine that with playing a really, really cool sport.
Yeah, I love it. I just love your energy. One of the funniest moments of that trip, when they get us to do the video to say thank you to the people that have helped sponsor, and they asked me to do it on day one as the coach, and I like to talk and being on camera and all those things. And then I remember watching you and Lizzie, and I thought, wow, this was like two worlds collide. Vivian and Lizzie, the two of you were absolutely perfect on screen together. You were the smiles from here to here, both of you, both very professional in what you do, but having so much fun and having so much energy. I felt very lucky to be there. When you see Lizzie, who's different from you but has some of the same skills as you, how does it feel that that's one of your friends?
I was so amazed to meet her. I was so excited because Sandra came to me and said, Viv, I did put you in the same room with Lizzie, and I think you guys should talk. I think you have a couple of things in common. And then we realized, we both work in media, and we have similar interests, and that was the greatest time. Honestly, I was so happy to meet this person. It was such a how do you say that? Like, such an add-on to my life into this weekend. And we stayed in contact, and the whole weekend we talked about different media outlets and what she's doing and what I'm doing, and we shared ideas, we shared contacts. And she is such a bubbly, funny, happy, positive person, honestly, and so confident. And she's so young and so confident. And I was absolutely amazed by that. And it was so cool to meet a person like that. This is exactly what we were talking about, those kind of trips. Like, I would have never thought I meet such a person, Lizzie, on this trip. And it was so cool.
Yeah, it was so, and I learned a lot from meeting you and understanding a bit more about rugby in Germany and the programs that you run. And then I've watched, we were talking before I hit record about Instagram and seeing how things are going with people, and you're involved in sport, not rugby. You're involved in sport. Has there been an event that you've been to, or has there been a person that you've met where you thought, wow, I feel very lucky in rugby, mostly of people I've met and thought, I watched you on TV, you're a hero, I used to pretend to be you. I've had a few of those. Have you met anyone in sport in Germany or worldwide where you thought, wow?
Yeah, recently, or since since 12 months, I'm doing this sports presenting job for the German TV channel NTV, and we do regular interviews. And I know that one of our experts is Lothar Matthäus, like a big footballer. And I was like, oh my God, one day I might have the chance to interview him. And then there was like this shift when I knew, okay, I'm going to actually do an interview with him after Germany played. And I was like, okay, I should not fuck this up. My language. I should be prepared. And I said to the stylist, okay, today the outfit needs to be really on point. I'm prepared with my questions. Please don't do my hair in a funny way. I need to look all right. I want to feel comfortable and confident. So that was definitely to speak to one of the biggest German football legends. Lothar Matthäus was definitely one of my highlights. And last week I had the chance to speak to Bastian Schweinsteiger, also one of the biggest footballers of Germany. He won the World Cup 2014, and I was so excited to be able to speak to him. Like, I had to travel from Berlin to Cologne. I was like, I'm taking a train earlier to make this interview possible. I'm definitely want to do that. And one other player is Angelique Kerber, a big tennis player, a big German female tennis player. I had the chance to speak to her at the Olympics last year. That was definitely one of my work highlights, to work at the Olympics. Obviously, I also watched the rugby there, which was amazing at the stadium there. But at that weekend, after the Olympics, she announced her retirement of tennis, and then we did an interview with her afterwards. And I was so nervous. I was like a little girl, and someone took a photo. I literally looked like a tiny little girl. I'm a journalist there. I'm doing an interview, but I look like, hello, do you speak to me? Like, those moments are just like, oh my God, these people, they did so many amazing things in sport. These are legends in the sport world. Angelique Kerber, oh my God, how many titles did she have? Did she manage to win? So yeah, but honestly, I'm often going to tournaments like Dubai Sevens and stuff like that. And if at tournaments like that, the professional players, they walk past us, and if I see then Charlie Keslick is walking past me, I'm like, oh my God, it's Charlie Keslick. I'm getting nervous.
Yeah, me too. I'm not allowed to go anywhere near Charlotte Caslick. Lothar Matthäus, that's 11-year-old Bruce is very, very jealous that you got to meet Lothar Matthäus. That team that won the World Cup, that was a big highlight of my childhood. Lothar Matthäus, wow. And then when you're doing that, again, your energy and enthusiasm comes over. It sounds like your job is perfect because you've got so much energy and enthusiasm for it. When you're doing rugby and you've taken yourself, you said you were nervous to meet all three of those, but you prepared very well. After we met in Amsterdam, you then came across to England.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And that there was what was your motivation for that?
Yeah. So I was working as a reporter in Berlin, and I realized I want to play rugby on a high level, like, again. I don't have many years left of playing rugby, and you can get injured every day. Right now is a really good time. I'm happy with my job, but I'm like keen to do something new. So I literally just quit my dream job. I was working 3 years as a reporter in Berlin. It was an absolute dream job. I had an amazing time, but I was like, I just want to play rugby on a really good level, and I think England is a good place to go. And because of my year at uni in England, I have a lot of friends still over in England. So me and my best friend, Emma Grace Mundy, she's also involved in the Sevens GB squad. We made a plan, and we said, let's both move to London, because I thought work-wise, it's the best place for me to go to look for a job. She is in Cheltenham. So we both moved to London. We both went to Richmond. We just had we went into the flat for the first day I moved to England. We just had videos from the flat, and we're like, yes, we rent that flat. Let's go. This is our dream. We want to just play rugby together. And that was a very crazy move to quit the job back home, to move to London. I haven't had a job at that point, but rugby is so important for me that I really thought like I want to play one more year on a good level, and this is what we did. And I had like the most amazing season with Richmond Rugby over there.
How many German women can say they've quit their dream job to move to England to play rugby?
I don't know. It sounds crazy.
I think one. I think only one, and it's you.
Yeah. And yeah, and honestly, when I actually think about it, it's absolutely mental. But the interesting thing is when I did that, when I went to my boss and said, look, I'm going to England to play rugby, they were buzzing for me. They were like, you crazy, but yeah, go for it. Okay. But the interesting thing is that that because of that move, the sport department, they heard, oh, Viv is leaving the company. Okay. And then they offered for me to come to be the sports presenter. And this was only possible because of me quitting the job. You know what I mean? Like you shut a door heavily, you shut the door like crazy, but another door opened. Like, first of all, the door Richmond Rugby, but another door being the sports presenter of a news channel. And then I said to them, look, that's a nice offer, but let me finish first my rugby season with Richmond Rugby, and afterwards I will happily be the sports presenter for the German news channel NTV. So pretty early, like pretty soon when I was in London, I knew I'm gonna move back and I'm gonna become the sports presenter over there.
So you've gone from my dream job because I want to play rugby to actually your real dream job.
Yes. Exactly. And I didn't know it's my dream job. It was never like the goal to be a sports presenter. I just did what I'd like to do, and I realized, oh, the things in front of the camera, I like to do that. I'm not scared of the camera. It's working well, so I keep doing that, and then that led me to be the sports presenter.
It's quite an understatement. It's working well. It's working very well, I think it's fair to say. And when you were in Richmond, you played with some really interesting players, and going to the club, you know, a welcoming club that's used to international players, and because they're in London, they have players coming from all over. How did you feel? Was it nervous again to go and join a club like that and mix with some of those players?
Yeah, massively scary, and especially because it's such a big club and they have so many teams and such a strong women's department. There is such a big culture. This is absolutely amazing. Like the pride they have, all the women and the men, to wear their jersey, and this is what you can feel, and it's something special, and you have to really earn your spot in the team, but in a very nice way. They have been very welcoming. They have been very nice, and they treated me like completely fine in training. But of course, I was nervous. It's a different language again. Of course, I speak English, but it's different calls, different names. And I was like, I came all the way here. I really want to play. I really want to show them that I'm a good enough player. So a couple of nervous weeks at the start, but the good thing is that I started playing there with really one of my best friends, Emma Mundy, and we both stick to those first couple of weeks. And very quickly we became part of that team, and they made it very easy, I have to say. Like, honestly, some of them are now really, really good friends of mine still now. So honestly, like one of the best seasons I had in rugby, honestly.
And did you get the performance out of it that you wanted? Did you play to a higher level? Did you play more consistently? Did you improve as a player? Were those things that you wanted from it?
100%. In Germany, our league is very, very small. We have a tournament or games every couple of weeks. And what I wanted is, I wanted to play every weekend. I wanted to have big away games. I wanted to go on the bus with the team, to travel to another club, to have this whole kind of vibe throughout a game day. And this is what I never really have here in Germany. And this is what we did. And very professional setup, video analysis every training session, physio before every training. We had a joint gym session before rugby training. We have a kicking class. It was such a professional setup. I loved it, and this is exactly what I wanted. And plus, we had a really, really successful season. We became third, and that was one of the third and a second division of the English league for the women's, and it was one of the most successful seasons Richmond had. And we lost 2 games throughout the whole season, and I was a starting player for a lot of games. I was 12, my best friend was 10, so we played together. That was really, really cool. Honestly, it's such a good season.
And did you play with Z?
I did play with Z, of course. Absolutely amazing player. I love her. She's a beast.
Yeah, she's a bit. And I just think, a female rugby player in Germany who's played with, become best friends with Rockstar Lizzie, played with Z, played with some iconic players, met some of the most iconic people in the game. I think you were in Dubai with Victoria Rush.
Mm-hmm.
The connections you've made in that rugby community that we spoke about at the very beginning, with some of the most hardworking, ordinary, nice people who are doing incredible things in the game, and you being one of them. How does it feel to be part of that community?
It's just great to see what all these women achieve, and in what kind of humble way they're doing that. For example, Z, she is actually, all the things she does, the role model she is, the way she is fighting for her jersey, for her to play on a higher level, the way she is really working hard to go to the training session, even when having a child, things like that. Like, this is unreal, and it's an honor to be surrounded by those kind of players. I have to say, honestly, so many times a couple of times I was talking to Z, and I was like, I was so interested to hear about her story, and we sat in the clubhouse and talked about it, and I was like, I actually can't believe it, and she's here so quiet and nearly shy, but actually she's an absolutely superstar. And also Victoria Rush, like the nicest person in the world. So lovely, like so helpful. And everyone just does what they love. They do it in a very humble, loving way. And there's one thing which combines us, and this is rugby. And this is just such a cool community, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. And I'm speaking to one of the coolest. When you're Viv in the clubhouse speaking to Z, is there still a bit of Viv the journalist when you're talking and learning? Not necessarily to then go and present a story or write an article, but always looking for more and using those skills that you've developed and that thirst for knowledge. Has that, I don't know where I'm going with this, but I think it would be amazing to have been a fly on the wall or listening to you speaking to Z, you being with Lizzie, like you say, humble, but very supportive of each other.
Mm-hmm.
And Viv, the journalist, improving by meeting all these people.
Oh, good question. and very interesting. I definitely realize that sometimes I'm getting into the mode of not just having a normal conversation, but asking a bit deeper and asking a bit differently. And this is then suddenly, especially when people are not so open straight away, then I realize, oh, but I want to know more. And then I ask questions a bit differently. And this is probably what I use as a journalist. But then we actually have a very nice conversation, and people are often very happy to talk about it, but you just have to maybe ask a bit differently. And what I just remember now is also that with Z, there are so many journalists all the time at training because they do interviews with her. She is sometimes mic'd up at training because there's someone from the BBC or someone with a microphone next to our training pitches trying to get Z somehow. And that was interesting. That was really cool. I was like, yes, they're at our training because of her, of our cool player. But yeah, with yeah, but otherwise, if it changes me, I'm not sure exactly, but it's definitely cool to meet all these girls in training, and there are so many other different interesting characters. We have, honestly, sometimes I was so interested in to listen to some other girls. They were paramedics. They did a hard working job in the night. Then they come to training, or then they come to a game, or sometimes the other way around. I was like, wow, amazing! Like they do such a cool job, and their passion. It's so hard. Every other person would be like, no, I'm working today. I'm not doing any rugby. No, they try to do both, and yeah, I was amazed by that.
Yeah, rugby clubs are amazing places when you bring all these people together, and then you go back to Germany to take on this new role. I know rugby's becoming more difficult to try and find the time to dedicate to it. When you look at rugby in Germany now compared to when you began, and then you look into the future, where do you think rugby for women in Germany is going?
I think it's on a very, very good track at the moment. The rugby for women in Germany. The league is getting more professional. The level of rugby is definitely getting better. At the moment, we have 2 divisions in which the teams play 15s rugby. A couple of years ago, we only had 1 division with 4 teams. Now we have 2 divisions with each 4 teams. It's still very little, but because of those games, because of the competition each player has, and more players have right now, the level is definitely improving. And what's really, really cool to see right now is that the girls' rugby is becoming so much bigger right now, and it's becoming actually a thing for the first time. So the rugby club I'm from, the club in Berlin, we started to have a girls' training, just a training for girls, and this is what we do now for exactly for 1 year. We started with that last April. And the girls, they love it. And these girls, they wouldn't go and train with the boys. I think they wouldn't enjoy that. But they bring their friends to training. They meet these other girls. They do trips and to tournaments, to games. The parents are super supportive. And I'm like, these girls, they know rugby for 1 year right now, and they're so committed. They're so involved. The parents are so invested. It's absolutely amazing to see that. Germany is quite a big country, and the girls, they travel very far every weekend, next to school, next to other hobbies they might have. But the thing is, the more game time they have, the better they get, and this is exactly what I think what they can feel. And right now, to see those girls who just started playing rugby 1 year ago, they had like a big tournament at our rugby club last weekend. And it's the cutest, coolest thing ever. And the girls stick together, they become friends, and they're bonding together. They gain confidence. And to see this generation right now, I honestly think this makes me very think very positive about the future of women's rugby in Germany.
And those girls, they obviously enjoy what they're doing now. Otherwise, they would leave. Do you feel that they have ambition because of Charlotte Caslick or Six Nations or World Cup, or the way social media, are they watching Rockstar Lizzie on TikTok? Where is their, so they have motivation now, but what do you think, what's their aspiration, do you think?
I think some of the girls I have in mind right now, I think they're actually still too young to understand what's out there. I think they don't even have the access yet to this kind of social media. Maybe under 18s girls, they probably start getting into this, but they're even younger girls. They're so little. And I think they really just enjoying being on the pitch, wrestling around on the grass, even in the wintertime now when it's rainy and muddy and sometimes even snowy. We had like trainings when we were like on white pitches and we're running on the snow and did the training sessions outside, while the men team was in a gym hole. The girls definitely the tougher part. And I think the time they spend together, the little trips they're doing, I think this is what keeps them right now into rugby. And it would be very interesting to see if they think about something else. And my idea was also to make like a little presentation for the girls right now to explain to them, this is the past and this is the legacy of the women's of our club, for example, or the legacy of female rugby in Germany. This is what we achieved so far. Our club, for example, we became German champion, the women team. So to tell them what's able to achieve, and that there is the national team, to explain things like that to them. So to get them into this, because I think some girls are actually too little, but to explain a couple of things like that, so they get an idea, they get an inspiration. And what also helps is that some of the older girls, they are now coaching the little girls. And that definitely helps as well, because they think like, oh, my coach is so cool, I want to be like her. And I think that's kind of their way of looking into the future a little bit.
Yeah, they become the role models. And now the game is, it's never been better, but hopefully in 5 years' time, it'll be even better. It's going to keep growing. When you look at this year being a World Cup year, are people in Germany aware of the Women's World Cup that's coming up? Is that news?
So in the rugby world, I don't have the feeling that people talk a lot about it, unfortunately. But I know, and I can imagine that people don't talk about it right now so much, but I'm pretty sure that a lot of German female rugby players will go to the World Cup. I have my tickets, and I was annoying to my friends when I said to them, tell me now what game you want to go to. I'm ordering now. So I definitely have my tightest group of friends, and we're gonna travel to Bristol to watch the semifinals there. I'm really excited for that. But outside of the rugby world, I think it will be very hard that this is a thing people will talk about. But I think when the time gets closer to the tournament, probably then I realized, oh my God, like literally every female rugby player from Germany will be probably in England. Like that was my experience with World Cups. I know, for example, in Dublin, so many of my friends, they went to Dublin to watch that World Cup over there. So I think it will be a thing in September.
That sounds very cool. I love that. And the growth of the game, people like Ilona Maher, is she making waves in Germany or not yet?
I think she's definitely someone who is reaching the people in Germany. I did an interview the other day with a really, really interesting female rugby player, and she did her debut for the German national team. And I asked her as well, who is your inspiration? Who's your role model? And she was mentioning Ilona as well. And also some of the parents. I remember some of the parents from the rugby girls who are now at our club, they saw her online and they're like, oh my God, she is so cool. And they love that she is not like always girly, that she presents that female is such a big word.
Different things, different days.
Yeah. And I think the parents, they love to see, oh my God, if these are the role models for our girls right now, this is a cool sport to be involved in, because here are the right values getting into, the right values the girls can learn from.
Yeah. It sounds so positive in the way you put it across. And Dubai was obviously a fun time for you. Have you got any more? Is there any more trips in the calendar that you're looking forward to?
Not so far yet, and I'm very nervous about that, because I'm feeling like I definitely want to do a rugby trip this year, and I have nothing planned so far. But I know that we are planning right now a little bit with loose heads. We might do some trips with them, but of course, I have my league with my team right now in Berlin. Unfortunately, I had to cancel 2 tournaments because of my job. Really, really heartbreaking. So, and I talked to the coach and said, maybe I can still play after that, even if I have to miss the first tournaments. Hopefully I have the chance to be involved, but it's hard for me because of work. I don't manage to do so many training times. There is a big cool tournament we have. It's called Berlin Sevens. My club is doing that, so I definitely try to be there, because there's always a fun time in Berlin to play some sevens. So yeah, I try to squeeze in some sevens this summer.
Yeah, I think you'll have some invitations. And when you think of that Rugby World Cup in September, it's hard to think anyone other than England will win. But what else do you hope will come from that World Cup in the UK when the England women's football team won? That was a big deal for women's football and really helped to grow the brand and, you know, make the players well known, not just to female football fans, but to such a wider audience. What else do you hope comes from this Women's Rugby World Cup?
First of all, I think it's absolutely amazing that right now the numbers of tickets they're sold, they already broke some records, right?
I'm not happy because I didn't get tickets for World Cup final. So
exactly.
while I'm happy, I'm angry. It's
exactly. That's why I have to be happy now with the semi-final. I like both semi-finals. I was like, okay, now I have to do those 2 games, but I'm very sad. I don't have tickets for the final. But honestly, like, to have this kind of tournament in a country like England, where the rugby culture is massive as well, I think that would be such a good advertisement for the sport again. And to see stadiums are hopefully going to be packed, definitely the final, to have these pictures, those stadiums full of people watching a women's rugby World Cup. Honestly, there is no better advertisement for that sport. And hopefully a lot of young players see that as well. Hopefully, like all female players in Europe, they go to those games. They need to go to those games to then talk about it, to spread them on social media, to tell their friends and family, to bring them along, things like that. So I feel like this is a very, very special time for women's sport in general. Exactly the effect we saw with the football World Cup, I think it's definitely going to be a push for rugby as well. like this is just to combine that with the growth of girls rugby in Germany right now, to have then a tournament like this, it's definitely helping each other. And you need those role models, you need to see those games, you need to see those big cool events, for other players to think, yeah, that's a cool sport, I want to be involved with that, I want to be like one of them. I'm interested how much it's coming across in the next couple of months, because right now it is still quite quiet about the event, but hopefully we will have more and more, maybe after the Six Nations. Right now they're still busy with those kind of games, and hopefully afterwards the teams and the players and the whole marketing will be more about that, and would reach every rugby girl in Europe.
In the world, in Europe. There's we just packed Twickenham World Cup final between England and New Zealand, or England and Canada. Would that make the news in Germany?
Good question. Honestly, if I'm working on a day and I'm doing the news, I'm like, this is the news, 1,000,000%. I will really fight for that. I was really fighting the other day to bring our German male team into the news, even though they lost, but I managed to bring even the loss into the German news. So, there are so many important facts about that. It's a World Cup. I mean, this is a big event. It's not just like a friendly. It's a World Cup. You have a packed stadium. It's a packed stadium in female sport. You have cool pictures. It's like something you want to see. There are so many other sports when it's not as interesting to even watch that. And sometimes that's also something which is important for the news. Is it interesting to watch that? Yes, it is interesting to watch super speedy person gets smashed by another female player. Like, this is cool. This is a proper sport. Something is happening there, and this is important for news. Definitely, if it's cool to watch, yes, let's do it. So I promise here right now, I'm gonna bring into news if I'm on the shift that day. I don't have the tickets for the World Cup, so I can work on that weekend.
Yeah, or tell work to send you to Twickenham, get you the press pass, and then you can do it live. Then you can you can interview Ellie Kildunn, who's probably that super speedy player you were talking about, doing something, or Jess Breach, or I mean, it's just incredible that England team. I'm really looking forward to it.
I want to add that so many news outlets right now in Germany, they do more and more female sport. Honestly, it's so good to see right now, and I'm pretty sure that they will have an eye on the Rugby World Cup as well, especially if it's that close around the corner from us.
Yeah, no, I hope so. I really hope so. Vivian, I could talk to you for such a long time. Your energy and enthusiasm just comes flying through the screen. I absolutely love it. It was a real honor to meet you, and I'm so glad we've kept in touch. And it's great to see things going so well. And you've even got your Penguin shirt over your shoulder there.
Yes, representing. Very proud owner of my shirt.
Sandra will be very proud of you.
It was great to talk to you, Bruce. I'm so happy we stayed in touch. I'm so happy we managed to do that here.
Yeah, and I look forward to you coming to Edinburgh to see Scotland women at some point in the Six Nations. You could time it for Scotland, England, maybe, to meet up with Lizzie and go, and Sandra, or Ireland and see Anna Capeless and go, or you're very welcome. It would be incredible to have you here.
Thank you. It would be awesome to do that.
Okay, thank you. Great to see you. See you soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. How cool. The future of rugby in Germany is very bright with role models like Vivian. What an absolute superstar. I think everybody should have a bit of Vivian in their life to give them that positivity injection. So cool. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, there's lots more. There's a huge back catalogue there, and there's more to come in future. You can listen on Apple, Acast, Spotify, on Amazon, on Google, anywhere you get your podcasts. You'll be able to watch on YouTube and Facebook as well. I hope you enjoyed it. I certainly did. My name is Bruce Aitchison from the Happiness Is podcast, brought to you by Happiness is Egg-shaped. I look forward to speaking to you all again very, very soon. But for now, look after yourselves. Bye-bye.